Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today we are doing the final review on the Makeup by Mario palette. I had already tried this palette, I had already reviewed it, and it just didn't feel okay for me. So I've played with this palette now 3 times, and I feel like I have a solid understanding of how I feel. I know that sounds silly, but I really did have high hopes for this palette, and unfortunately it just hasn't worked out for me. So if you want to see my full review on this, and if you want to see 2 looks using this palette, then let's go. Alright guys, so on my face I have on my NARS Soft Matte Foundation in Barcelona. This little sample, guys, has gone a long way. I think I can probably get 1 or 2 more uses out of it. For my concealer, I used my Huda Beauty concealer, and I set my face with the Beauty Bakery setting powder. We're gonna play with this again. This is the Makeup by Mario palette, and I filmed a video reviewing it, putting it to work and everything. I'm gonna take this shade here, and guys, I was so disappointed in the pigmentation. I was disappointed in the overall just wear. It faded quickly. It reminded me of the Khaki Haze palette by Huda. It was not what I was expecting. And these shadows are a drier formula, so that could be part of the reason. But at this point, I feel like there's so many brands that have done shadows and have done them well, and for $48 I had higher hopes. I'm going to take this shade here, and I'm going to use the same brush, and I'm going to pop that into the crease. So I'm going to take a small MAC 228, and I'm going to take this shade down here, and I'm going to use this to shape out my eye look. That's very pigmented and smooth. I'm not mad at it. Okay, so now that I have that, I am going to take a fluffy brush, and I am going to take this shade here, which is the shade that we used in the crease, and then I'm going to just apply that to the outer corner, and then bring that up. These are performing better than the first time I used them, so I'm glad that I came back to play with the palette, because literally I was getting ready to send it back. Like, I just was not impressed, but it's definitely looking better. I'm going to take that 228 and then take this shade, which is the color that we used to create our shape, and I'm just going to blend this inward, again using my line as a guide. Okay, and this is where I start to see some of that patchiness. Like, if you guys look, it should not look this patchy. I'm just taking some more of that. It's really the problem, it lies in the darker shades is what I'm remembering. It's a shame. This palette is probably going back. I'm like 95% sure. I just feel like for $48, you should be getting better blendability. And I do know that it is a drier formula. I get that. But it's just, no, there's just no reason. I'm going to take my brush and just blend this out, which I know is going to sheer it out some. I'm going to take this color here and then just pat that in the middle of the lid, and then blend it towards the deeper brown that we have. even like this shade, it's not very pigmented. I'm gonna go in with the darker brown again and just make sure that it stands out. You know, I really want to like this palette because I really love Mario, and I think he's obviously very talented. I think a lot of us feel that way, and I'm just surprised that this is what he released. I'm gonna take this shade and then use that in the inner part of my eye and then blend it towards the middle. At the end of the day, one of the issues that I have with this palette is that you can't ever tell that you've used a variety of shades. It just kind of muddles up together. All right guys, so here is the final look. On my lips, I used this Esam lip liner. It's the dual-ended one. I used the nude shade, and then I used the Fenty lip balm in Retro Rose. I also used Spliff gel liner by Melt Cosmetics to do my wing liner. And this is what I'm gonna tell you guys. I feel like if this palette had been like $28, I would be like, it's $28, right? Because the eye look does not look bad, but it is definitely a palette that these shadows are not very blendable. They're dry, and because they're drier, they can be a little trickier to use. They can look patchy at times. They can sheer out when you're blending, and that's exactly what you see. So you guys saw that I used a few really dark shades, and my eye makeup does not look like that. I guess I'm having a really hard time with this palette because it's by Mario and the hopes are high. But I'm just very disappointed in this. I feel like the eye colors look muddy. I feel like they've all blended together and you really can't distinguish where the color placement is or what shades I have on my lids. Like the look is pretty, but the look would be pretty if the palette was a drugstore palette or, you know, an inexpensive brand. But I just can't wrap my head around the fact that this is a $48 palette and it was created by one of the best makeup artists. I'm having a really hard time with this. So the first look you guys will see. Alright guys, so I wanted to come outside and give you guys a look-see. This is in natural lighting. I had high expectations for this palette and I just look at it, I'm like, how? Again, I have the same opinion where it looks pretty, but it just does not, there's nothing wow about this eyeshadow palette. I know that he released other products that are probably better than this, but let me just point out some things. I pointed this out before, but I'm gonna go ahead and do it again. There's imperfections in my palette. At this point, you really can't see like the scratches because I've played with it, but there were scratches on the palette. That little spot there, that's actually glue that's coming up from underneath the palette. Like these are little things that for $48, you shouldn't be having this experience with a palette. I'm going to stand by my original review and tell you guys that you can get better quality from other lines like Viseart, Natasha Denona, Pat McGrath. Like if you want high end. If you want something similar to this, I would tell you to explore something like Viseart. I feel like they have palettes that are very much in line to this. I just feel like, again, I'm not impressed by the way that this looks. Blending was a little bit of a pain. You can kind of see it here on the end. It looks patchy. I'm not impressed. I'm not happy. So this will be going back. I wanted to make sure that I gave it a fair shot, and I feel like at this point I've given it a fair shot. I played with it yesterday too and just applied like the browns and did a brown smoky eye, and it was patchy and it was dry, and in certain areas it was more pigmented than others, and It's something that isn't uncommon for really dry formulas, but it's just not for me. So unfortunately, this is a no. I hope that this is helpful to you guys. Please be sure to like this video. Leave a comment down below letting me know, have you tried this? Did I maybe get a bad batch? I don't know. And please like this video as it does help my channel. Thank you guys so much for spending time with me, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.